Hello and welcome to module 2 on understanding thyself. Was that the ancient Greeks that would say that, isn't it? Is that the road to wisdom is to understand thyself? So there's different ways of doing this one, James. What we found very useful is a personality test called the Enneagram. We'll go into that in more
hmm
details during the end of this video. But really, it's about looking at and understanding your behaviors and how you react to the world from childhood, what coping mechanisms you've built up in your personality to be able to cope with the scary things in the world. So some people become more introverted, more extroverted. They've got different types of behaviors that they do with different nuances, and they might be working at a different level of behavior from unhealthy to average to a very healthy version of yourself. And the idea, James, is to try and transcend your personality. So it's not a fixed label as you are this, you will act like this. It's just some behavioral traits that you will have due to certain circumstances and your personality type. But first of all, James, we will talk about the power of beliefs when it comes to even accepting personality typing, because some people are very resistant to certain things, and we really want people to be quite open-minded, don't we, James?
Yeah. Well, it's fascinating when you look at the stories that we tell ourselves. That will say, I mean, for me personally, always had this narrative that's like I'm bad at maths. So I've carried that with me for years and years and years. So I've convinced myself that I am bad at maths. But is that actually the case? Do I know that to be absolutely true? Well, yes, I struggle with it, but that's not to say that I can't change that. If I actually put some effort into becoming better or have a different understanding or looking at that emotional reaction to a situation where I feel under pressure to do maths, that everything just kind of shuts down. And it's a fear-based thing. And I know I've identified where that comes from. It comes from childhood and those situations that I was in at that particular time, that something happened and it then created this cascade of emotions around it. So I know that. And again, that's an awareness piece. So that doesn't have to be the same story that I tell myself going forward, because just one slight tweak to that, one little change to that narrative can cause a different outcome. So really it's knowing and having an awareness around the fact that the brain is not set.
Yeah.
You hear about neuroplasticity, this ability to be able to change the neurons, the firing in the brain, the connections that are created. And there's great research around the fact that your brain can adapt, and at any age. So again, we can tell ourselves that you get to a certain age and say, well, I can't change. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, you absolutely can. But the belief system has to be such that you can allow yourself to start to go down that route, to say that, that particular behavior doesn't need to continue. But a lot of this is established during childhood. It's the stories that we're told. It's that one throwaway comment that we could have held on to subconsciously that has embedded itself in our consciousness and in a subconscious way that exists. And we don't even remember the incident, but we just know that, this is now how we feel. And a lot of it is around shame and guilt, shame from trauma, and the guilt then that is the residual effect of that. So again, we're just trying to allow you to see that your mindset isn't that. It's not set. Your mind
Yeah.
is pliable. It can grow, it can contract. You can do something different. But really, it comes fundamentally down to your belief system around that, whether you absolutely believe that you can't change and everything is pointless, or change is possible and there's opportunity.
Definitely,
So
James, because your
where do you sit
beliefs
on that
then
scale?
play out your identity, don't they? Your beliefs then frame your
Mm,
identity. Your identity then sets the tone for all of your behaviors, and then you become what you think. So beliefs are so powerful. You got to think, country names, it's just a belief. Language is just a belief. Money is just a belief. It only works when everyone believes it. If you look at a map from 500 years ago, there will be different names of countries on that map that you won't recognize because somebody's changed it. Everyone now believes it, and it's a new thing. You look at old
mm,
science, and they've done another test, another experiment. They've learned something new. The belief has changed of what was once true in that space is now not so much in this space. And you hear it with people that have done very big things in the world. They've sort of had they've had a faith or a knowing, which maybe is a deeper than even a belief, that something is going to happen, and they sort of bring that into their reality.
so
Maybe in the woo-woo
manifesting.
space, they would call it manifesting. Some people don't like that word, but that even thought process of it could be delusional sometimes belief, but it actually can attract in the situations and get you through different moments in time that
Mm,
bring things to you. So never underestimate what you believe and what you tell yourself when you're by yourself. If you're telling yourself you're a bad person, if you're telling yourself you're a bad parent, if you're telling yourself you've always been overweight and that's just the way it is, you're telling
mm,
yourself you're a lazy person because your mum or dad used to say that, or you're
yeah.
not good at this. Obviously, there's certain things, maybe if you're 5 foot tall, you're not going to be maybe the next NBA basket player. You might be a great 3-point shooter, but you got to be realistic. You might not be the best singer in the world. And that's about the self-awareness part
Mm.
in our first module. But still having belief, James, is huge, isn't it?
It's massive. It's massive. And
That's
it's the
huge.
questioning of that as well, that little voice inside your head, that again, it's taking the step back from that and just questioning it. Do I know that absolutely to be true? Where's the evidence? You look for external verification, validation of that you say that, I am really bad at this. I'm a bad person. And you look at the people around you and the people that love you, and they'll see you very differently to the way you'll see yourself. And it's that incongruity between that voice inside your head, and this is where the inner child healing is so incredibly important. And through this course, we're going to suggest that, if there are challenges, there's things that may trigger you during this that I would, or
Yeah.
we would absolutely advise you to go to get professional help with that. We both have. And I know, speaking personally, of healing the inner child is incredibly important, because there was always this incongruity, this gap between who I felt inside and who I was presenting on the outside, so the external to the internal. And that sort of jarring of that made me feel like people could see through me, and how uncomfortable that made me feel. I couldn't relax. I couldn't connect to other people because I thought they would see me for the real person or who I was, and not this facade that I was presenting. So incredibly important to do that work around healing the inner child, because if inside you're still feeling like that wounded infant and you're not inhabiting the body of the adult, then you're always going to feel at odds. There's always going to be that fear, the anger that comes from that. And the protective element will always be there. So if this is something that is resonating with you, then we absolutely implore you to go and get professional help to deal with that, because it's absolutely vital to be able to move forward in this process.
And when it comes to even professional help, it's always still great to, work on yourself. There's 178 odd hours in the week. You might only even go to therapy a couple of hours a week. To still be an active participant in your own development is crucial. Start to really take a real proactive part in learning, understanding. And that's where personality typing, where we'll talk about the Enneagram and the nuances in that, because in the self-development world, what's good for you might not be the right thing for me. We might have slight different feelings and coping mechanisms to fear. We might not be scared of the same thing. We might have slightly different behavioral reactions. And this makes a huge difference when giving people personal development advice, because you could be given generic advice, which most courses do, and it could be the opposite of what you really
totally agree
need to do.
And our lived experience is not your lived experience.
Yeah.
So you cannot be prescriptive and say, right, guys, you need to do this, 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 and this, because it doesn't work like that. This is a very personal journey that you're going on. So, everything that we're talking about, it's just to enable you to start to think about things a little bit differently and to apply it to you, to where you're at right now, to say, okay, that's interesting. I've just kind of given that some thought, and actually, that feels a little bit different. Or if I could just take myself out of that loop, just briefly, that would enable me to see things a little bit differently and start to question. If we can question, just generally question, and not take things at face value, and because that's always been true, does that mean to say that it is actually true?
Yeah.
So it's perception, it's about perspective, and we're just encouraging you to start to think a little bit differently, question things, and have a look at it through a different lens. It's that simple.
And what the personality type does is just give you a bit of more of a framework. So when I first met James, I had an inkling of what personality type he was, because he was mirroring a lot of my behaviors. And when he did the test, it was exactly what I assumed it was going to be. So you can learn a lot from these frameworks. You can sort of predict your behaviors. You can understand your behaviors from your childhood and why you've built up those coping mechanisms. And it gives you a little bit of a sense of relief, I would say, James, that you're not broken. You're not broken.
None of us are broken. None of us are broken.
And it's understandable. You act in this certain way. You repeat these habits. There's certain things that it would be good for you to work on. Not everybody should work on those certain things, but for you specifically, it will give you a certain direction. So that's what we're going to do, aren't we, James? Because once you start working on it's like most of self-development is sort of like the machine gun effect, where you're just shooting everywhere. It's generic advice for everybody, and it sort of doesn't hit anybody. But we're bringing out the shotgun of self-development, the rifle with the little radar thing on it as well, and that is giving
the laser sight.
That laser sight focus. So when we do implement things like audios or specific advice, it is nuanced and specific to you. It's not for everybody. It could be the worst thing for somebody else to do. So then that's what's going to help in the terms of neuroplasticity, James. That's neuroplasticity is that rewiring of the brain, because you are going to be, if you're in your 30s, 40s, there is going to be hard wiring there. It is harder to change when you're getting older.
We're not making out that it's easy, because it ain't easy.
It's not easy. It's not easy, and it takes conscious effort, but the more focused you are in,
painful.
Yeah. Being triggered is good. Like James said, you're going to get triggered. When you're triggered, sit with it. Just say, I'm triggered now. We
move away from pain and towards pleasure. That's how we are.
It's powerful.
Hardwired in that respect. So moving towards pain is uncomfortable. But you've got to go through the pain and the discomfort in order to change.
Yeah, so then we got the power.
We're not going to sugarcoat that, that's for sure.
It's not easy, James. We've got the power of beliefs. We've got the personality typing that we're going to get you to do. So James is going to discuss that now. The understanding of neuroplasticity, that, there is hardwiring in your brain. You can change that. And then what we do touch on sometimes throughout the course is something called, there's the Hawkins level of consciousness. And that is like an emotional state. And there's like an energy level to each. So shame, guilt, fear, desire will be quite low level consciousness, as they would say. Then you'll move up to courage, which is the threshold of you then changing. And then there will be a lot of acceptance, sort of surrender. And if you do become the next Jesus or Muhammad, then you'll hit, 1000 and enlightenment. I don't think we're there yet, James. We're slight way off.
I'm feeling quite excited by this myself, actually. I think I need this course.
Exactly. But it never ends. You're going to see. But when you look at the Hawkins levels of consciousness, you'll say, look, I'm making this decision through fear here. I'm feeling a lot of shame. You know that you're in that consciousness level. And then you'll see you move up to anger. Anger can be a very positive thing, very positive. Then you might dip down to fear. You might make a courageous decision.
Sit with it and let the emotions kind of flow through you. You don't have to act on it. You just need to feel it. Just sit with it and think, why am I feeling this way? Why is this triggering me so much? Why do I feel so agitated at this moment in time? What is that? Yeah. What's going on? So homework then is doing the Enneagram. So we'll put the link to that in the PDF. And also there will be the meditation. All right. And it's just kind of reconnecting with your inner kind of strength, and it'll dip into the healing of the inner child bit. All right. But it's just, again, to start to get you into that state where you can address those kind of issues.
And we've done the homework on personality testing. Tim Ferriss is a big fan of the Enneagram. It's sort of it's more like spiritual and psychological development. It's a tool. It's a powerful tool. It's not the be all and end all. And we do combine it in the future with other things like the MBTI, the Ocean personality test. But I think you get the most bang for your buck out of the Enneagram with its simplicity and its understanding of childhood more than all of the other ones I've done in the past. Yeah. And I get that wow moment with clients when they do it. So you'll have
we all think we're unique, don't we? We all think we're absolutely, nobody else thinks like we do, can possibly have the same thoughts that I have in my head. And then all of a sudden you do one of these tests and you go, wow, well, that just has explained me to a T.
Yeah.
So it's this weird kind of revelation when you go, how can that be possible that this, just by doing this test, it knows me?
Which is
worrying, and it kind of normalizes it a little bit, and it makes you feel like, actually, maybe I'm not that different. Maybe there is hope.
Yeah.
Because if you come at it from this situation where you feel like, I'm beyond change here. I couldn't possibly imagine not feeling or being the way that I am right now. And then all of a sudden you see this unfolding in front of you. It just, anyway, I'm not going to preempt it because everybody's experience is different, but.
And just a slight summary on that. There's 9 types to the personality type with the Enneagram. There's a wing on each type. So you could be, say, a 1, personality type 1 with a wing 2 or a 9. You could be a 2 with a 3 or a 1. So you have your take on the type from the type above or below you as part of your personality type. And then for each of those types, you'll have a 9-level rating from unhealthy at the bottom, going that there'll be 3 sections of unhealthy, 3 sections of average, and then 3 sections of healthy. So you could be the same personality type. Say James and I are 9-wing 1s. James might be in a very high state in terms of being right at the top, and I might be in a very low state, where we could look very different in terms of our behaviors, but there will be a lot of similarities in the way we react to stress and the way we behave. It just depends how healthy we are in our personality type. So the idea is to evolve and transcend that type. So most people will be very similar right at the top of the tree if we ever get there. But it's just a fascinating experience, and it's we found it to be just a great tool, haven't we, James? When you combine it with other tests as well.
And listen, on any given day, you can feel different. You know, on the day that you wake up and you feel like anything is possible, that the world is literally your oyster. And another day you can wake up and not want to talk to anybody because you can't see the point. So, you know, we're not making out that this thing is just a very linear A to B process, that you'll go from start point A and you'll end up at B. It doesn't look like that. So there's the reality of it. And like I said, we're not going to sugarcoat it, but there is hope.
Yeah.
You know, we're testament to the fact that there is hope.
It's incredible when you use the tools well. It's like with a hammer, you could use it for any use you want to. But with this, I think the more honest you are, the more self-aware. Don't answer the questions in a way of who you think you want to be. Answer them truthfully as, you know, who you are.
Yeah.
Because some people might do that. So you might not get the right output of who you are straight away in terms of your type. Sometimes it can be a bit of a process. It's a bit of a learning process, of a bit of a self-awareness process.
It's a dumb tool, isn't it? You know, it's not, it can't think for you. You've got to be honest and open.
Yeah.
And that again comes down to that self-love. Is like, what do you want out of the process? You know, do you want to keep deluding yourself, or do you really want to be granular and get to the bottom of why you feel the way you feel?
And that's exactly what we said from the beginning, James. Knowing thyself is super important. And this way of doing it, using a tool like this, we are being laser focused. We're being more laser focused, which means we're going to speed up change, because we're not talking to you in a generic way. You're going to speed up change, and you're taking agency and having that agency for yourself to make those changes, but it's going to be speaking to you. It's not going to be the course where it says the same thing about everybody, about facing their fears and doing this. It's generic.
Yeah.
We want it to be more about you. Okay. So do that test. That's the homework for today. And we will see you on the next module. Take care, James.
Take care. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.